During this NBA season, one of the most debated topics was who was the MVP of the regular season. You were either on Team Giannis or Team Harden. I wasn't as interested in the MVP race because that's not what really matters to me during the season. What matters to me is just getting to the playoffs and seeing what the matchups are. And I think this season is a perfect example of why the playoffs are so much more important for a player's legacy. And if you were following my page on Instagram a while back, I talked about if the NBA introduced a new award called the Playoff MVP. So in this video, I'm going to be exploring the players who are most deserving of that award, the Playoff MVP. Now the Playoff MVP will take into account who you lost to, where you lost, and how good you performed when you lost or when you won. I don't want to fully discredit people for losing early in the playoffs if they face a juggernaut like the Warriors, but I do have to take that into account when evaluating the Playoff MVP. So at number 5 on my list, I have Nikola Jokic, and this was really a breakout season for Jokic in the regular season, and I really wondered if he could carry it into the postseason. And I'm not a big Jokic guy, but I've heard a lot of good things about him. I've seen him, I've watched his games on League Pass, and I know he's a good all-around player, but I wanted to see if that would translate to the playoffs. And it really did translate to the playoffs. I mean, Jokic put up one of the greatest stat lines you'll ever see in the playoffs from a big man, averaging 25, 13, and 8. I mean, he was like the Larry Bird of the Nuggets. I mean, he was ridiculous. And I was really hoping they would actually beat the Blazers in that Game 7 because I feel like they matched up better versus the Warriors. But overall, I was just super impressed with what Jokic did. He really led his Denver team along with Gary Harris and Jamal Murray. And it was just really impressive to see him evolve as a player. At number 4 on my list, I have CJ McCollum. And this may come to a surprise for some people who say Dame had a better playoffs, but overall I feel CJ actually performed better than Dame. That's not trying to discredit Dame or inflate CJ. I'm not saying CJ is better than Dame, but just purely based off these playoffs, I feel like CJ really meant more to the team than what he provided. I understand Dame had the big game winner, but I mean, CJ, in my opinion, in that Game 7, he scored 37 points. That was their season on the line. That was all the marbles in one game, and CJ really showed out. Without him, they really don't win that game, and I don't want to talk too bad about Dame, but I wouldn't say he choked in that game, but he definitely underperformed. I know he did do other things on the court. He rebounded well, he passed well, but CJ really brought it, and he had that nice mid-range at the end of the game that really sealed it for them. So at number 3, I have Seth Curry. No, I'm just playing. I have Steph Curry at number 3. And Steph, once again, has been underrated in the playoffs. He has the reputation of, choking and underperforming in the playoffs. And I really don't see it when looking at his career. I guess you could point to 2016. But in my opinion, that's the only case where you could say he really choked or underperformed. In the 2019 playoffs, he's really only had 2 bad games. And they both came in the first round. One of them, he just flat out shot terrible. In the other game, he was in foul trouble and really didn't get to play that much. But since then, he's been on a tear. Steph's been super efficient in these playoffs, and he's really carried Golden State when KD was out. The thing that puts Steph at 3 for me is not the fact that he swept Portland and he had that amazing Game 7 with a 37-point triple-double. It's the fact that he was able to take down the Houston Rockets without Kevin Durant. And Rockets fans and even the Rockets were making excuses all years long why they lost that Game 7 last year. And this time, there was no excuses. They just flat out lost. And Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, Draymond, they were all determined to show the media and the fans that they can do it without Kevin Durant. That was a really special game, and it really is the highlight for Steph in these playoffs for me so far. So, you're probably wondering, there's only 2 spots left, and there's 3 players we all know are deserving. So I had to make it kind of a 2A and 2B kind of situation with Kevin Durant and Giannis. So, starting with KD, in my opinion, was having the best playoffs of his career, and he would have been the 2019 playoff MVP up until this point. But, I mean, injuries did strike him, and we don't know how long he's going to be out. He could miss the finals. I mean, it's just really been a bad luck for KD if he was playing the best basketball of his career. Now, when talking about Giannis, the thing that holds him back from being a playoff MVP in my mind is this Eastern Conference Finals run. Giannis has kind of been exposed by Nick Nurse and the Raptors coaching staff as they get a body in front of him at all times. They let him drive in, but they really keep 2 guys on him. He said to kick the ball out to shooters and they're not making their shots. He's been really turnover prone, and he just doesn't look like the same Giannis we saw against Boston and against Detroit. Now, everyone's seen the stats on Giannis when he's guarded by Kawhi, and that's pretty impressive. When you consider Giannis as a guy who usually shoots above 50% and even sometimes in the 60% range. So, I mean, if you want to put Kevin Durant above Giannis or Giannis above KD, I'm fine with either one because they both have negatives for their 2019 playoff run, but I'm just going to keep them even. So, now on to number one. Now, this guy, he sat out all last year, he demanded a trade, and he got his trade. Now, showing up in Toronto, there were high expectations, but I don't think anyone really expected Kawhi to play like he is right now. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Kawhi could go down as having one of the top 5 best playoff runs in NBA history if he brings Toronto a championship. Just going down the list right now, I mean, Kawhi's had the iconic Game 7 buzzer beater. It's never been done before. He's had great play on Giannis, as I said previously, and he's just been scoring, defending. He's been efficient. I mean, he's done all the Raptors asked him to do. And this really shows the gap from what a star is in the regular season and what a star is in the playoffs. I don't want to hate on DeMar DeRozan, but as we've come to see, he is a star, but he is a regular season star. Kawhi Leonard was a star in the regular season and the playoffs, but I'm going to elevate him to a superstar status, especially in the playoffs. And these playoffs have really reminded us how great Kawhi Leonard really is. I know he didn't make first team all defense, but I still think he is the best defender in the NBA. I think he's the best two-way player in the NBA, and I think he's really underrated when it comes to scoring the ball. If you just look at all aspects of his game, he's improved his handles, his footwork, his mid-range, his three. I mean, this could be the greatest Kawhi Leonard we've ever seen, and the greatest Kawhi Leonard we ever will see. And for all the people who said that Kawhi was a system player and that he only benefited from Greg Popovich, I mean, those people are hard to find now, as they're probably hiding in a hole, regretting what they said and probably deleting tweets or posts where they said Kawhi was a system player. And I'm really hoping that the Raptors do beat the Bucks and we get a Raptors-Warriors finals. I'm saying that as a Celtics fan, who I really do hate the Raptors, but Kawhi has just been so impressive this playoffs, I just want to see it continue. Now, as I said before, I don't want to jump ahead, but Kawhi will have the opportunity, if he gets past the Bucks, to beat the Golden State Warriors, and he could elevate himself into the top 20 of the greatest players of all time. Now, some people may say it's a little premature to say he'll be in the top 20, so I mean, I'll scale it back a little and say top 25. I think if he beats this Warriors team and he continues to play well, winning the Finals MVP, legacy-wise, he's definitely going to be in the top 25, and in my mind, he could go as high as 20, as I said before. If you were to look at his resume, he'd be a 2-time Finals MVP, a 2-time champion, and a 2-time Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, Kawhi has a chance to do something really special this postseason. I just hope he's able to continue it. So that's really all I have to say about Kawhi. And just go back over my list, look at it. It was Jokic, McCollum, Curry, Giannis and KD tied for second, and Kawhi. I tried to remain consistent and evaluate each player fairly. Some of you guys might not like CJ being so high. I know Dame, some people thought he had a better postseason, but just my opinion overall wise, I think CJ actually played better. I think he was more meaningful to the run. Some people might actually have a problem with Jokic. I just think Nikola Jokic was so dominant. I think he has to be on this list. I think he really did have a special run that many people aren't recognizing. And just to further recap, KD and Giannis, we know how great they've been playing. KD's injured now. And Giannis, he really hasn't shown up the last 2 games. I hope he shows up tonight and plays well. But yeah, those are the 2 things holding those 2 players back from being number 1 above Kawhi Leonard. So this is the end of the video. Kawhi Leonard right now would be my playoff MVP if the award did exist. I hope the NBA looks into making this an award, because I feel like the regular season it's so easy. I mean, there's not much defense played. I feel like the playoffs, it really gets turned up, the intensity, and that was none more evident than 2019, as the playoffs have really, really been intense, and they've really been great. So that is the end of the video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you watched till the end, and I want you guys to evaluate my list and just tell me how good it was, what I did right, what I did wrong, and who I left out or who I ranked too high.